Hi there, Neil from Diagonal Move here, back with The Lamps Are Going Out. We are in turn 4, which is summer of 1915. Doing a sort of a playthrough tutorial series here, trying to cover most of the main rules in the game with the intention of both doing a playthrough and also highlighting how the game evolves over time. We're going to jump straight in because I've already done a few videos, each of which has been relatively long. So looking at the start of the German turn. Now, from a game state perspective, things are not looking particularly good for the Germans. We have Russian armies hovering here around areas that have been conquered, with Berlin currently defended by 3 spent units. So Germany, as a first thing they must do, is try to shore up the defences in Berlin. Now we could do that through moving some of these units, but then that would leave the Somme fairly vulnerable from quite a large force there of French and British units. We could move them from the Rhine, but again with a similar challenge. So what we'll do then, we'll move straight into the game with the movement phase, because we don't do the deck build element. So let's just go straight to movement. We go straight to the event card, which is the Elite Mountain Division. So this is a marker you place on any German or Austro-Hungarian army, and that allows you to ignore the defensive modifier when attacking into a mountain range. That's not the most helpful card, I have to say, to have drawn right now from a German perspective, because Germany basically doesn't have any mountains they're attacking into right now. They do the Austro-Hungarian army. So I think what we'll probably aim to do is pop it onto this army here that's currently occupying Serbia, in case we ever attack down into Greece. Now we move into movement, and I'm going to have to move units away from the Western Front to try to defend Berlin. So I'll move one from Somme into Berlin, and they've got 4 units remaining in the Somme, but 3 in the Rhine. The Rhine is better defended with a trench and a mountain range, so we will move the extra one from there to try and just defend a little bit more in the Berlin region. Navy movement. It feels like a waste to move my single fleet into the blockade to go up against 3 fresh ones. So I won't move any of those. I'll keep the U-boats where they are in the unrestricted warfare box, meaning it's now combat. So I may as well do guerrilla combat, try and take up a bit of that production from the British. So let's roll a dice, hope for a 5 or a 6. And we have a 1, that's not very helpful from a German point of view. And then we go into combat, and I think we may as well start with good question. Where do we start? Because anything that I do is going to be severely hampered in terms of the production rebuild element, because we're down 4 production points down, meaning I think it's 4. Yeah, 4. Meaning a single attack by a single unit will effectively mean we're stuck. So is that right? I'm not sure, because it'd be 1 here, 1 here, 3 there, that's 5. Yeah, so then it'd be 3 spare. So we're basically at break even at the moment. I'm not sure that any of what I just said makes sense, so let's just go into combat. We'll do it here into Paris to try to minimise some of the attacking potential of Paris. Okay, where is the relevant counter? Here we go. Cool. Okay, so we're going to attack into an area with a trench, and there are 5 units defending. We do also have the ability to defend with our artillery here for the Western Allies. And we have how many French German units. We have 4 German units. So the aim here is not to conquer the territory, it's to try to reduce the amount that the enemy can attack. Okay, so starting up attacking against the trench. So 4. The Allies will roll 2 for the artillery. It's 2 3s, so that is a successfully breached trench. Moving on to the French unit, that's a 5 with a 1 defending. Get big push marker. I'm going through this a little bit quicker than I have done previously, just to keep the video relatively succinct. Next attack then with the buff is a 4, which would become a 5. Defending is a 6. Okay, so that is slightly frustrating from a Germany point of view, because we now have only 2 units with 4 to attack. I don't think, if I keep going, I don't know how many of these units I'll be able to refit, especially as we probably should start thinking about doing the same thing over here into Russia. So let's stop there. Let's stop there. Trench becomes unbreached again. In the Berlin region, we have 2 units attacking 3. No modifiers unless we get a big push, so to see how it goes. So the first German unit attacking gets a 6, that's pretty good, with a 6 defending, lucky. And the second German unit will have that big push marker, and it's a 3, which will be buffed to a 4. And that is a successful attack. So I think we've taken the teeth out of that forthcoming Russian attack into Berlin. They only have 1 fresh unit remaining at the end of that combat, which I think is pretty good. And they certainly won't be able to build anything or move anyone fresh in there, looking at the state of the board at the moment. So that's good. That's good. Cool. All the Russian units are spent. I think I mentioned it in an earlier video, they just don't have enough resources to properly refit every army, meaning the teeth often gets taken out of the attacks of the Russians at this point, or near this point, it feels like to me anyway. Okay, production, nothing to do with the blockade box. No events to resolve at this point. U-boat attrition, 2 dice for my 1 fresh U-boat. And that is a 4 that we've got, which means nothing happens, because a 4 is the counter is spent if Belgium is not Central Power controlled, but it currently is, so that's no effect. There's no transfer of production, so we move straight on to the refit, rebuild type phase, and we have 12 points basic, losing 4, so that's 8 remaining. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. Uh, 6 and 7. And then 8 for the fleet. Okay. Technology. Let's see what we get for the Germans. They're slightly behind in the technology, actually. Okay, we have the U2, which is the second in the U-boat tree. Unfortunately, we don't have U1, and neither does the Western Allies have U2, meaning we cannot take the lower down card automatically. And what would normally happen is if you draw a higher card than you currently have, if the opponent has that card, you get to draw the lower value one to start you off on that tree. So for example, if I drew a U2 and the enemy had a U2, we could draw the U1 if we didn't already have it. It's just a way of keeping the balance between the sides in terms of the technology, but in situations like that, it just gets shuffled back in because we don't have anyone far enough along the tree to warrant that catch-up. Okay, Western Allies. Let's see what Western Allies can do. Event card first. The Treaty of London. Okay, so basically Italy's joining the war. This is the first time that the Italians, or indeed anyone, will join the war by card play. We had Turkey join the war through automatic event in 1914. This is the first time a neutral army's coming in through card play. And basically what we do is we add all the Italian armies to the board, or at least as many as is dictated by the setup card. And they get an additional production point this turn as well. The Italians join the war on the Western Allies side, and they come into the war in a spent condition, just 2 of them, but they do have a couple of production points this turn rather than the usual 1 because of the card effect there. So I'll just add a single production point to the board just to signify that. Okay, movement. I will move one of those armies, and then I will also move the British army down. In fact, there is nothing stopping me moving that British army. Now that Italy are on our side, there is nothing stopping me moving that unit all the way here to Venetia with the hope of attacking into Austria. Let's do that. We'll do that. Okay, cool. Next up on the Western Allies side is naval combat. There's no naval combat to do, no invasions at this point, therefore we just move into ground combat. I will not bother doing anything on the East Africa track. Equally, actually I will attack here using this unit just to try and minimise any negative effect of the Turks attacking on that region. Let's see how we go. So the British is a 4, Turkey is a single die roll, and therefore both those are spent. Hopefully we've negated some of the threat there, although there's obviously still a threat just there. But all the action really is here in this region. We're going to attack into Austria with the British here. We need to roll a 3+ because we're in a mountain region with the production, and we've rolled a 3. Awesome, we have moved in as the British. I may as well take the Italians with us. There we go. Austria has been breached, opening a doorway into Germany through Bavaria fairly soon, I think. Next up, we will attack using these 3 units here, and I think we will attack into the Somme with the hope that we can then attack from Paris into the Somme with the next turn. We could attack here, but there's more of a risk of failure due to the trench, the mountains, and so on. But we will. Let's get the French production back if we can by attacking the Somme from Verdun. Okay, so we've got 4 German counters plus a air superiority counter, and we have 3 French markers. Okay, so I will roll the dice. Just to say, actually, on the German turn, I didn't do the dogfight roll because basically the Western Allies don't have an equivalent air technology card. And in previous videos I've said I'm not sure how that works, but I've just assumed a German win if you're not rolling any dice against them as a result of not having any cards. So that's why I didn't do that a minute ago. But anyway, French attacking Germany, say 2, and a 3, so that was a fail. And again, it's a 5 and a 2, that is a success. Last one, we have a 3 and a 4, that will be a 4 due to the success marker, which is this one. But they win ties because of that, so French have not successfully damaged that unit. Okay, so that attack's done, but I think we've successfully caused a depletion of some of the German resistance in that region, which will hopefully mean we can attack now from the Somme into, not from Somme, from Paris into the Somme with some hope of success. We do have the artillery, which we will use in this. Okay, so let's first up we'll attack with two dice due to the artillery, and we have a 3 and a 4, which will keep as a 4. German defenders have a 5, typical. And again from the same region, it's a 5 and a 6, we'll keep the 6. Artillery is spent, as 6 in defence, but we win as France because we are attackers, and attackers win ties. There are no superiority markers left, so they don't break ties in favour of the Germans. Moving down, we have 2 more units remaining. Oh, that's rubbish, because now we cannot actually move forward. Even if we beat these 2, we cannot move forward. We are going to make life difficult for Germany in the next turn though, if we keep going. So one more attack with the +1 marker. It's going to be 3, and that moves to 4. Defending, we have a 3, that's good. Finally, the British Army attacks with a 4, becoming a 5. And we have, okay, we've taken out all the fresh units in the Somme over the course of those 2 attacks. Now that's good, because we can potentially move forward into Germany, and if at all possible, we can take Germany, or push Germany out of the Somme next turn. However, we have now got an awful lot of units that we need to refit, which is probably not going to be achievable at this point. Anyway, let's move on. Nothing else to do in terms of combat, so we will move into production, and we can go straight to the U-boat attack phase. There's only 1 fresh U-boat, so just the 1 attack. That is a 4, and we have success. So the Brits have a -1 production when the time comes. France still have 3 production, but first we do need to do the Italians, who will have 2 production this turn, and we'll flip both of those like so. British now have, no, it's the French, isn't it? The French have 3, so we probably should do 1, 2, and then defend there with 3. The British would have 1, 2, 3. Now they only have, I think it's 6 because of the reduction. So we've got 3 remaining. 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 remaining. We'll put on a fresh British unit, and then we'll transfer production to the French with the remainder. Okay, cool. That's all done. Just flip these over and draw the tech card. Tanks. Okay, we don't have the applicable intermediary step. This is the 3rd in the technology tree for artillery. We don't have A2, we've only got A1. The Germans do not have any artillery cards, so that just gets shuffled back in. Aerial stuff, we don't have a card, so no need to roll any dice. Move on to the Russian turn, or the Eastern Allies turn. Just the event card first, and it is called Scorched Earth, which allows us to basically keep that to one side, and it allows the Russian player to retreat instead of taking a loss in combat, which is pretty helpful, frankly. Okay, next we have movement. Let's move the artillery to the front line, and this guy from Moscow to the front line. I'm not quite sure what good that's going to do, but we will see, won't we? We actually only have one fresh unit in the whole of Russia, and that is that unit there, sort of hidden. So I think what I'll do is I actually won't do anything in terms of combat, because we're just wasting our time, and I'll take the 4 Russian production. I believe it's 4 still. There's no extra production anywhere. At some point in the game you may or may not get extra production in Petrograd. We don't have that yet, so I'll just flip 1, 2, 3 there, and 1 there. That's all my force spent. The 2 artillery can then be flipped also. Cool. Their turn's done. Nothing else to do in terms of production for the Russians. Serbia, of course, don't get any production, meaning it's the Austro-Hungarian turn. Okay, this is a slightly different card. It's called Rasputita, and what it means is mud essentially impedes the advance of the Central Powers throughout Russia. Now, it only applies to spring and fall, and we are on summer, so what will happen is basically nothing will happen, and we'll put it into next year's event deck, so it goes on the top of the cards for 1916, and then we draw another card, which is first line formations, and we place this on any Central Ally army, and it has a +2 DRM in combat, removing the marker at the end of 1915 if it's not used. So I will add that on, and I'll add that on there, I think, because there is a possibility here that if we do it right, we could massively affect this unit, this bunch of units here, through supply. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I won't get too excited just yet. Okay, so movement for the Austro-Hungarians. We can always move 1 Turkish unit, and I will move the Damascus unit back to Anatolia. The elite mountain unit could be worth bringing up here to try and do some damage into Russia, to the Russians in Germany, but that would leave this region quite open, and we already have problems here, so actually I think that unit might be better off in fact. I think I may even move some units Let's do that. Let's move these here into Vienna. So we're risking a collapse actually if we don't do that for the Austro-Hungarians, because if these guys, I was thinking about taking Bavaria to stop the German advance, but we could force an Austro-Hungarian collapse by taking that region as the British. So I've moved one Turkish army, I've moved the artillery, and I've moved the mountain division, which would be actually quite helpful there because that's all mountainous. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I not move the artillery and actually move one of these? In fact, I think I will, because the artillery, the Germans have enough units there not to worry too much just at the moment about the Russians, but we could lose Vienna if we're not careful. So I will actually move that unit with the +2 DRM back to Vienna and then attack into here. That would be what a sensible thing to do, I think. Okay, so as combat, I will do just that. So we have the elite mountain unit, which removes any modifying mounting defense for the British who I'm attacking now. That's a 2. That's pretty appalling. And a 4. So the Brits didn't actually need that unit or that mountain modifier. Next attack then, this will have the +2 DRM. That's a 5, which will buff to 7 due to the force line formations. Brits cannot win that, even though they've got a 6. Therefore, Brits are spent, and that unit is spent. That marker is removed. The Elite Mountain Division marker stays for the rest of the game. But we do have a problem as the Austro-Hungarians, because we've only got 2 production. 4 units already spent. So if we do anything to support the Germans, some hard decisions are going to have to be made about where we go next. I don't think we can support the Germans, because if we attack, we won't take anything, we won't take back any territory, we will spend those 2 units, and then we will have nowhere near enough production to refit anybody. So let's just stop there. We will move on to production. The Turks get 1 production point, which I will flip the unit in Anatolia. Then with the 2 remaining production, we will flip them there and there for the Austro-Hungarians. Okay, things are in the balance really for the Central Powers. There's not really much going for them at the moment. The Germans are operating at a reduced level of production. The Austro-Hungarians are also operating at a reduced level of production, and may not take much for either of those 2 factions to actually collapse in the next couple of turns, but we'll see how it goes.